Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show with Ken Lain. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now, welcome your host, Ken Lain.
So there's a few spring tasks. You should feel the pressure. You should be out there in the garden getting ready for the season or taking care of those plants that have wintered over all winter and getting them ready to grow. In fact, if you go out there, you'll be finding they're already starting to grow. The sap is definitely running in plants right now. And so they're wanting to wake up. It won't take much. And so by the end of this month, it'll be full on spring. My daffodils, they'll be in bloom by this weekend. I mean, they're just going. And so a couple things you really want to focus on, the top 10 things you want to go with. You got to finish pruning. You should feel the pressure. All pruning should be completely done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, just everything from fruit trees to perennials to grasses, they should all be finished. And so you should feel that angst. You feel the anxiety. Oh, I really need to get out there and prune those roses so they bloom better this spring. I really should cut back those old mums that are just sitting there with all that brown on top. We need to get that pruned back. And so just take a lawnmower over, weed whacker, whack back those wildflowers. When you cut that back, those spent flowers, you'll find out there's already new growth. The poppies are already up. The echinaceas, they're already up. Their things are already starting. They're not blooming, but they're actively growing. There's green underneath there. So once you cut that back, it'll allow more sun to get there. They'll grow even better. So it's that time. And any kind of mulch, you mound it over, protected, got your roses or your flowers, kind of pull that stuff back. Make sure there's no debris or mulch or leaves or wood chips touching your trees. You want the trunk area. Pull that back so that air gets around there. And so you'll get better. Everything starts growing now, including bugs and including disease things like there's a bacteria that eats the crown or the bark area where it touches the actual bark, where it touches the roots. Well, you just kind of open that up and it breathes, makes it all better. Your evergreens, trim back those evergreens. So my rainbow ascot euphorbias. This is a beautiful perennial, gets about knee high. It took it in the chin with that last snow. Oh, they got laying over. My the other one, gopher plant. It's a famous evergreen euphorbia. It's a native-y thing here. The rumor is gophers won't eat it. Actually, the rumor is you put one in the yard, it keeps gophers away. That's not the way it works. The gophers won't eat that one plant, but they don't seem to repel things. But if they look a little off, they've been damaged, now's the time. Trim, clean, get things going. Prune back those roses, cut them back so you've got 3 to 5 stems about knee high that are all vibrant green. They will take off with new growth. Get done pruning those apple trees, the peaches, trim those things back so the air flows in the middle. The number 2 things you can do that make the most difference in any garden in March is fertilize everything in the yard. Every single thing needs food. And I'm not talking about that cheesy stuff in a box, Miracle-Gro. I'm talking about real deep steak and potato kind of plant foods. So we make an organic here. It's called 744 all-purpose plant food. Something I put together years ago for my own gardens. I just figured out how to package it for your gardens. It's pelletized, spreads easily. It smells kind of earthy because it is earthy. Man, does that work. It just brings out the color, has green, deep, rich greens on your maple trees. It'll get you more growth on those aspens. It'll make your pine trees, your pinyon pine, just look tropical. Fertilize everything in the yard. Perennials, grass, evergreens, shade trees, fruit trees. Everything in the yard needs food in March. It's important. That's what's going to encourage them to grow. And then second, make sure, for the love of gardening, the worst possible chore of any garden is weeding. I hate weeding. Oh, it's laborious. We were kicked out of the Garden of Eden and we were assigned to weed. That's just wrong in so many ways. Weed and grass stopper There's a granular. While you got that hand spreader fertilizing all the plants out there, put weed and grass stopper over that rock lawn, around your flower beds, or underneath your trees. It will keep the weeds. It'll knock out 95 or more percent of all weeding needs. Just get it. Those two things will make your life easier. That's why you tuned in. Those two bits of advice right there will pay for the show, which is free, by the way, but glad you tuned in. But those are two things I make sure I do not miss: fertilizing, and then making sure I put the weed and grass stopper down. I put manure over my thyme lawn. I cut back my thyme lawn. So I don't have an actual grass lawn. I have an herbal thyme lawn, just because I don't have to water it hardly. And I only mow it twice a year. I think only once this year. So it's super easy to care for, but it's green. But it seems to respond well with a thin layer of manure after I'm done. So I'm real generous with manure. This is your month to get a bag of deodorized manure. It's not poop in a bag. It is poop in a bag, but it doesn't react like that. It just kind of, we've got a better manure that doesn't feel gooey, gross, sticky, and disgusting. You can spread it and not feel like you got to go bathe afterwards. So get a few bags of that and spread it over your flower beds. Put it through get your vegetable beds ready. Then put some food with it. Put it over your lawns. It will be magical what happens. And so that's another thing with lawns. If you're into lawns, I know we don't have a lot of lawns out there, but there are some. Surprisingly, there's more pools and lawns than you think. There's more greenhouses in backyards than you would think. I get to talk to all of y'all. It's kind of fun. For lawns, there's two things I do with my lawn. So one, I fertilize it in March right now with all-purpose plant food. That 744, the main ingredient is bird guano. Man, grass loves bird poop. Oh my gosh, spread that on there and it will be green within 2 weeks. Whew, you better make sure the mower is ready. It will green it up like now. And then every other month, I'm switching off 2 products back and forth each month. So I start the season with the 744 all-purpose plant food. The next month I put on Humic, Humic, Humic Acid. It's granular as well. It's spread like a fertilizer, but what it does, it feeds the soil. So the bacteria in the soil, the things that eat the matted area underneath the grass, that dead matted area, it takes out that, creates a deeper root on your grass, gets rid of the matting area. And so you never have to aerate this thing again. You won't have to dethatch it again because you're feeding it with regular food. The grass you're feeding with the all-purpose. You're feeding the bacteria that eats the thatch. And every month you switch that off. So first month, start in March with the all-purpose, then switch it off. And by the time you get to October, basically, it's when you kind of shut down things. Maybe it's November. And pretty much you'll have a grass lawn that doesn't have weeds, doesn't need to be thatched, doesn't need to be aerated. And weeds, they are not going to compete. The grass is going to be so healthy. There's no weed that could even get in there. It's a game changer. Right? That just really makes a difference. So that's a bit of advice I can give you that'll save you a couple. Never have to thatch again. Thatching's a pain. Aerating's worse. And you got those little nuggets all over the ground that you're tripping over for the next month and a half. You won't have to do that. So Humic and all-purpose plant foods, start with the food in March. Then once a month, just rotate them through October. You will have a magical grass experience that's greener than your neighbors. They'll be envious. Going, where'd you hear? I tuned into this crazy guy on the radio. He told me how to do this. Go down to Waters Garden Center. They got all the stuff. To you ladies, that's a total insult. I should have done that in a female voice. I'm just not very good with that. Anyway, I shouldn't go into voice on the radio. Having too much fun. Anyway, if you didn't catch that, come talk to me. It just makes a difference.
If life is a bowl of cherries, why not make them the biggest, sweetest cherries ever?
Waters Garden Center is super excited to introduce our new organic fruit and vegetable plant food.
This fertilizer has the bonus of added calcium that gives fruit trees and veggies an extra boost to produce healthy, abundant crops.
Feed your plants now to help them thrive and grow more fruits than ever. And just $27 for a 20-pound bag.
Safe, natural, organic fruit and vegetable plant food only at Waters Garden Center.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Thanks for tuning in to the Top 10 Garden Show.